Well, there's 3 comments that constantly appear on my YouTube channel. To me, they're everyday kind of routine systems I go through in every fishing situation. But to many, they sit there thinking, what does Duncan mean when he refers to the first one, and that is clipping up? Now, I'm going to go through these 3 questions a lot more in the video later on, you know, where, when and how I go about doing these. But clipping up simply means placing your main line in the reel's line clip, which you'll find on the spool. Some have 2, some have 1. Really cheap reels might not have any, so but there's always going to be pretty much a line clip, and what it means is you place your line under that line clip once you've cast and got your distance, and that means you can cast back to that distance time and time again. Another question is, what is a wrap? Now, a wrap is simply a rod length, and the length of rod we're talking about is a standard kind of 12-foot carp rod. 12 feet is approximately 4 yards, 4 paces. So a wrap, simple terms, is a rod length, a 12-foot rod. And then another question is, how do I create a reference marker on my main line? And that I do by using marker gum. This ESP marker gum, really fine. You can just make a stop knot. I'm going to show you how to make that stop knot in this video. You just place it on your line, and that gives you your distance marker that you can then put the line in the line clip and then cast back to that same distance. So hopefully those 3 comments people make have been explained in simple terms, but let me just explain them a little bit more in detail. Okay, let's just run through the procedure of marking up, wrapping up, clipping up that I do when I get to a lake. The first thing I'm going to do is position my marker sticks. We all see them behind the bivvies of carpers, because carpers will always be clipping up, but us specie anglers, especially match anglers, don't tend to do it as much. And as you can see, these Nash marker sticks come with a cord, a length, which is 12 feet, which is very handy because you don't have to lay your rod on the ground. But here's a standard 12-foot rod, and as you can see, it's 12 foot apart, 1 wrap. And if I just pace it out, 1, 2, 3, 4, so it's about 4 paces is, you know, 12 feet, 4 yards. So the first thing I do when I get to the lake is to try and spot fish moving. Now let's say I'm going down late April, it's first thing in the morning, I'm there just before or just as it gets light, mist on the water, and I see a tench roll. What I'm going to do is just keep looking. Hopefully more than 1 tench will actually show in that area, and I'm simply going to make a cast at those, try and land it in the rings of where a tench has just rolled. And then the first thing I'm going to do, once I'm happy with that, is I'm going to place the line in the line clip. Okay, so when I cast out again, I can't go any further because I've trapped that line in that line clip. Okay, now I need to know how many wraps, rod lengths, I am actually fishing at, because I've got to wrap my other rod up to the same distance, and also if I'm using a big feeder or a spom to bait up with, that needs to be clipped up as well. So in this case, I'm using one of the Guru distance feeders. I just place that over the marker stick, and I'm thinking, how many rod lengths, how many wraps? 2, 3, 4, 5. Good idea is to do a figure of 8 here. 6, 7, 8, 9, and there we are, we're at 9 wraps. Now 9 rod lengths, don't forget you've got the rod length here as well, so we're fishing at 10 wraps, which is 40 paces, about 40 yards. So what I've done there is my line is in the line clip, and now what I'm going to do is simply take a bit of the marker elastic and create a stop knot, and simply trap in one end on the line, making a loop, taking the other tag through the loop and then just pulling that tight and then trimming to about 1/2 inch. So there you have your stop knot on your line, and then I'm going to pull that right down to my line clip. The reason I'm doing that is I'm using a quiver tip. I've got very small eyes. Some people, and on occasions, especially when I'm night fishing, I will tie that on the rod tip, because when you cast out, you can actually hear the actual stop knot going through the rings, and you can then just get ready to lower the rod down. In this case, I'm using a quiver tip, so that elastic stop knot is probably going to hit those small eyes, you know, and create a bit of friction. So in this case, I tie that little stop knot right the way by the reel seat. I then wind that in over the marker sticks. The reason I do a figure of 8 is if you don't do a figure of 8 and you just wrap it round, if one of those wraps line goes under 3 or 4 others, and when you actually take that off, it sometimes, or I've known it, pull the whole lot off, you get a great big bird's nest and you have to re-spool. So by doing a figure of 8, you can never go below the actual coil on one of the bank sticks, on one of the marker sticks, and then just wind it in, and there you have it, clipped up, marked up and wrapped up, all in one. That's all part. So when I actually cast out, I can just, you know, point the rod straight to where I'm casting. As that feeder is just about to land, what you need to do is lift that rod into a vertical position and then let the weight of the feeder pull the rod down. Okay, then what you do is you unclip, sink your line, carefully place your rod on the rod rest and the alarm. Don't move that feeder. I see a lot of people casting out, they feel the weight of the feeder down and then they go like that. They clip the bail arm over, they move back, they pull the feeder back, and there you've just deposited all your bait a foot or 2 away from your hook bait. So basically cast out, hit the clip, lower the rod, unclip, then carefully place your rod on the rod rest, and then put the bait run on and just tighten up and put your indicator on, and you're good to go. Now, if for any, you know, for instance, you're bream fishing and you hook a carp and it rips loads and loads and loads of line off you and your elastic is out in the lake, what you do is once you've landed that carp, you can then just do a practice cast left, right or centre of your swim. Your elastic will come out, you can then just wind your elastic down, put it in your line clip, and you're good to go. That's why you have to put a reference. If you don't put a reference mark on your line and you hook a carp, you don't know where you're going. And one thing I would say is when you're clipping up and you cast out, don't leave the clip on, unless of course you're fishing up against an island or you're locked up, or maybe, because if you leave that line clip on, what's going to happen is sooner or later a carp's going to rip off, your hook link's going to go, leaving a hook in a fish's mouth, or at worst, your rod's going to disappear into the lake. So get into the habit, the routine of casting out, clipping up, unclipping, making a reference mark, etc, etc, and hopefully, without going into too much detail, that's explained those 3 comments as well as I can do. Well, I just want to say thank you very, very much for all the comments and all the views, all those anglers out there that have subscribed, etc. And I just want to finish off by saying I'm trying to create these videos to help you catch more fish. If you're the angler that want to go to the lake, improve on certain skills, and then fish as best as you possibly can, drive home at the end of the day with a few extra fish in your net, and or even if you do go home and you've blanked, you know you've done everything you can do. But clipping up, putting marker elastic on your line, wrapping out, at first it is a complete and utter ball ache, believe me, and it's very, very difficult to get into a routine of doing all these things, but it will catch you so many more fish. And you know, I look at some anglers and they cast out and they say, oh, that will do. That will do will never do in my world of angling. I have to actually put it on the money. If I move that feeder, if the cast is slightly left, is a bit short, I'm winding in, I'm doing it again. So if you keep going through the little tips and the procedures that I've spoken about, it will be like setting your landing net, pushing your bank sticks in. It will come natural practice for you. And if you want to actually see what I'm doing a little bit more in detail, then if you go onto my YouTube channel and you go into the past videos, this time last year, about April last year, I did a couple of videos. One was called Catch More Bream, and that follows me in just a routine normal session where I go down one of my local lakes, I do what I've shown you, and I put a few fish in the net. And there's also one called the percentage game, because it's all those tiny little 1% that if you can stack those odds in your favour, then you're going to be catching more from the next guy down the bank or the next guy off, you know, the next peg. So yeah, lots of little tips. Another tip is, as you can see, I've got a very, very long left thumbnail, and if you want to clip up or you're struggling and you're fiddling about with the clip, then grow that fingernail, because that simply is your tool, like a disgorger, to get out clipped up really quickly, get that, you know, rod back out in the water and catch more fish. So yeah, please keep watching, make those comments, I will come back to you. Subscribe, it costs you nothing, it doesn't cost a penny to subscribe, but it means so much to me. And yeah, give it the thumbs up, and hopefully the weather's warming up. It's the Easter weekend, we've got some sun at long last. I'm not out actually on the bank this weekend, but I am going to get into maybe a bigger bream campaign next month, because for me April is without doubt the best month to catch bream. And then I'm going to be getting those bream rods stripped down, re-spooled, slightly beefed up for catching a few tench in May. So yeah, thanks for watching, and be lucky when you go out on the bank.